Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and the first weekend of the Vanguard beta is now behind us. I wish I could say it was fun, but like I outlined in my last video, the game is nearly unplayable on an old school PlayStation 4, so I basically sat the entire weekend out, and instead I've been paying a lot of attention to the feedback of other content creators, as well as what Sledgehammer Games has been saying over on social media. Now, according to Sledgehammer, they are aware that there is a, quote, significant amount of discussion around player visibility and audio mixing. Stay tuned as we will address some of our planned updates later this week. So with weekend 2, apparently visibility and audio mixing will be addressed, which is a good thing, but the question is, why? Why is this a problem? Why are core features such as visibility, which is your literal ability to see other players in the game, along with audio mixing, which is your literal ability to hear what's happening in the game, why are these problems in the beta of a game that Sledgehammer supposedly has been working on for years now? Now, like I mentioned in my previous video, I do have COVID, and I will say that definitely contributed to me being a bit over cynical when it came to weekend 1 of the beta. I completely acknowledge that. I was overly cynical. But what we're talking about here today is something that should be discussed. This needs to be addressed. This is not me being overly cynical. This is me genuinely wondering what's going on with the Call of Duty franchise, because I think the answer to that question, the answer to the question of how is visibility and audio mixing a problem in the year 2021, I think the answer is pretty clear. And the answer is actually the biggest problem within the Call of Duty franchise. Much bigger than skill-based matchmaking, much bigger than Activision's store bundles, much bigger than anything. And that problem is that Call of Duty's own developers, the people who make these games year after year, don't actually play their own game. I honest to God think that. I honest to God think that is the biggest problem in the Call of Duty franchise. I think by this point, it's pretty clear that the developers don't play their own game. Look at all the problems that have been brought up so far with Vanguard, and none of these problems would exist if the developers actually played their own game. Look at the problems with Black Ops Cold War, for example. I mean, no-flinch sniper rifles have been ruining Search and Destroy since day 1 of the game coming out. Dark Matter still does not work. It's been 11 months. Dark Matter still does not work. You think a single Treyarch dev actually has Dark Matter? Because if they did, they probably would have fixed it by now. 100%er does not exist within Black Ops Cold War. Capped seasonal prestiges. The AK-74U is still running rampant. The list goes on. And it's because the developers don't actually play their own game, outside of Matt Scrance, who literally only uses the best gun in the entire game. I mean, I suppose it's good that he at least plays his own title. The lead game designer for a studio should play their own game outside the office. But even then, the game's own lead designer has 7 days of playtime in the game over the course of an entire year, and throughout that entire year, he has like 5 times as many kills with the best gun in the entire game as compared to anything else. Right, that's kind of ridiculous, and his playtime is not even really all that much for being the lead game designer. Hardcore fans often have double or even triple that amount of playtime, but regardless, I suppose it's good at least one person at Treyarch actually plays their own game, even if they play it in a really goofy way. But even if we go back to Sledgehammer here for a second, it's clear that they also do not play their own games. In 2021, they reverted every positive change that happened to Call of Duty in 2020. I was watching Prestigious Keys video about this. Remember back going into Black Ops Cold War, they advertised like a selling point for the game was the fact that the traditional minimap was back and that Dead Silence was back as a perk. Like, they realized that people did not like that stuff from Modern Warfare 2019. They added it into Black Ops Cold War. It was a selling point and people were happy. Well, now here in 2021, all those changes that we made in 2020 are going back to 2019 because we're going back to the non-working minimap with the compass and the diamonds on the compass and Dead Silence being a field upgrade. Like, how does that make any sense really whatsoever? We often credit Sledgehammer Games for listening to the community and doing well when it comes to taking player feedback because of what they did back during Call of Duty World War II, and that is true, but at the same time, that's the easiest thing they could possibly do. Why play your own game? Just wait for the fans to tell you what to do, essentially. That's all they did. Like, remember back in Call of Duty World War II, the original one that is, we had dominating Domination 50. And we also have the bar being the best gun in the entire game. Well, back then, as a bit of a history lesson, Michael Condrey and the entire Sledgehammer team kept fighting us tooth and nail on both of these topics. Sledgehammer kept claiming that their quote-unquote internal data suggested that Domination 50 was better than Domination 75 or even Domination 100. Their internal data kept suggesting to them that the bar wasn't OP, but should those devs have actually played their own game, then they would have known right away that they were wrong on both of those subjects. I forget the exact numbers, so I'm going to be a bit hyperbolic here, but here's the thing, I'm not even being that hyperbolic. Back during Call of Duty World War II, in Domination, when it was only 50 points for a kill in Domination, to get the ball turret gunner, the biggest streak in the game, in one life, you had to go on something like a 17 gun streak, capture the B flag 3 times, and capture the enemy back flag twice, all in one life, just to unlock the ball turret gunner with Domination 50. It was something obscene like that. You may think I'm being extremely hyperbolic, like 17 kill streak, capture B 3 times, do all this. No, that's actually what you had to do to get enough score in Domination 50 to unlock the ball turret gunner. It was obscene. These score streaks were near impossible to earn with Dom 50, but Sledgehammer kept fighting us tooth and nail because despite every actual player of the game, every actual Domination player explaining to them mathematically why the system was bad, they still kept fighting tooth and nail because their internal data said otherwise, right? And the same was true of the bar assault rifle. Back in the early days of Call of Duty World War II, the bar was the only gun that we ever saw in that game, and it was super annoying. And while yes, that's true of most Call of Duty titles, remember back during the Cold War beta, we had the MP5, it was kind of ridiculous, right? And right now in Vanguard, it's pretty much the MP40. Sure, the community always does lean towards one gun, but typically they lean towards the best gun, and the bar was an anomaly because it was an assault rifle that had a faster time to kill up close than any submachine gun in the game. Statistically, it beat every submachine gun in the game at submachine gun ranges while also being a rifle. But Sledgehammer Games and Michael Condrey and all of them, they're like, our internal data suggests that stats with the bar are not really that much better than most of the other guns in the game based on how the community's actually using them. And it's like, you guys are fucking idiots. Like, no shit, the stats are going to be kind of bad. Everyone's using it, which means good players are using it, bad players are using it, and eventually it's going to even out somewhere in the middle in terms of overall KD amongst the player base. That does not discredit the fact that up close, the bar is better than any submachine gun while also being a rifle. Any actual COD player will tell you that and explain to you why it's a problem, but they didn't care because they don't actually play their own game. They develop games, they don't play games. That is the problem with Call of Duty right now. That has always been the problem with Call of Duty if you think about it. Think about every little issue that we have had over the years in the Call of Duty franchise and ask yourself, would that issue have existed should the development studio actually play their own game as compared to just playing developer all the time? Instead of sitting there and trying to figure out demographics and make all sorts of different changes based on numbers that they have internally, if they actually played their own game and saw these things from a first-person, first-hand perspective, would changes have actually been made? Because the answer is yes. 100% the answer is yes. And now we have a problem right now with Call of Duty Vanguard, where we're going back to the Modern Warfare 2019 minimap for some reason, and they're adding a perk 2, which makes it so we have a normal minimap. So everyone's got to run this perk 2 just because they want to add the Modern Warfare 2019 minimap as compared to a normal functioning minimap that we have had every single year for like 14 of the past 15 years. How does that make any sense whatsoever? Is that coming from a studio that actually plays their own game? Because I don't think it is. Armor plates are ruining the game. I've been watching footage of this. It is obscene. Even like the Call of Duty partners. These are people that work with Activision. They get to play the game early. They get sweatshirts and hoodies sent to them by Activision and stuff. Even those people are making videos saying, look, armor plates are kind of ruining the game, and if the game ships like this, it's going to completely destroy game modes like Search and Destroy. Even Marksman's talking about that, right? And does a system like that come from a studio that actually plays their own game? Because I don't think that's true. Look at 6v6. 6v6 got phased out of the beta, essentially. After one day of the beta, they got rid of the 6v6 playlist and replaced it with a Blitz playlist. So basically, everyone just only plays 14 on 14 or 24 on 24. They don't even want 6v6 to be a thing in this year's game, essentially. They're trying to phase it out for this new combat pacing feature. It's ridiculous, man. It is so ridiculous how many changes are being made. Now, again, I was overly cynical and overly critical during weekend one. I will fully admit that I'm going through a lot of shit right now, and COVID is only one of them. And I understand that I was overly cynical. I acknowledge that, and I'm going into weekend two when I can actually play the game on PC. I'm going to be playing the game and going with an open mind, and I want the game to be good. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people say, like, oh, Nero, you just want to hate on this game. You want this game to be terrible. I am a Call of Duty YouTuber. This is literally my job, right? This is my job. This is my career. If the game sucks, I don't pay my mortgage. Like, if anything, I want the game to be better. If anything, I should be like overly happy about the game, but I'm not. And it's because I've been playing the franchise for a very long time. I know where COD can be, and I see where COD is right now. And like right now, in my opinion anyway, Call of Duty is like down here, whereas back in the day, it used to be up here. Right, and I'm trying to get COD back to being up here again, and I think it starts by holding the actual developers' feet to the fire and explaining that these guys don't actually play their own game. It is just a fact. If they did play their own game, outside of like getting the level 50 every single year, then the games would be much better. They just would be. But the people that are responsible and making all these massive changes and these massive decisions, they're doing so from like a developer / business perspective. They're not doing it from a gameplay perspective. They're not doing it to make the game better. They're doing it because it's going to somehow benefit them on the back end and make it so the game sells more copies to a certain kind of demographic, which is why during the reveal, they spent like 5 minutes talking about how cool it is that you can blind fire over cover now. Like, I don't know, guys. I think it's clear. I think it's clear that the developers don't play their own games. And I think that it does need to have some sort of a movement from the community where whenever we see these like ridiculously bad things that are happening to the franchise, I don't know if there needs to be a hashtag or people just need to start saying it more on social media, but just tell the developers, play your own game. Play your own game. Because if they actually did play their own game, all these problems would essentially just go away. I truly think that. I truly do. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all I had for you guys here in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider leaving a like. Leave your thoughts and feedback on all this down there in the comments. As always, I'll be here with you guys every step of the way as we learn more about weekend 2 of the Vanguard beta and what changes are going to be made. But again, they don't play their own game. I think at this point, it's pretty clear, and I think if you think back to most of the problems we've had in the past, like 5 or 10 years in the Call of Duty franchise, it comes from developers trying to make the game for developers as compared to trying to make the game for Call of Duty fans. But once again, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider leaving a like. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.